So I think I will try to do over the next period something related to Japan. So I was in Japan for 6 months, um, and I also want to do some things related to Greece. So I'm just it's a self-reference here. So I may do other things, but I will be thinking about these things as well. Uh, so so in the description below there is a link to a video. I think the thinking there is very good, like questioning these basic principles, for example, of Japanese education. I don't know much about Japanese education, but I think the thinking of questioning these principles of um, thought and education is very good. And so the editor that is being interviewed, so I'm just thinking right now that the interview setup is slightly strange to me. But anyway, so usually it's the other direction as I think of interviews, but it's interesting. So it just occurred to me, I don't, yeah, so basically he says at some point that martial arts are related to defense and military thinking. So he makes a point there that I disagreed as I listened to it. So I want to make a point here. So the brain is distributed. Um, so and there are many layers, but it's also distributed. So at the layer within thinking, so for example, there is subconscious thinking, there is subvocalization, there is visual thinking, etc. Um, um, Also, when you write, you distribute your brain to the paper and pen or the computer, the laptop. When you play music, for example, the piano, you distribute your brain to the piano. In a sense, you start internalizing it. So I have discussed some things like this in previous entries. Um, but anyway, so your brain gets extended to the piano or the laptop. And for example, when you have a conversation, you distribute your brain to the other person. So there is this well-known Socratic method. So Socrates was using this dialectic method to think better. And of course, you can have like truly distributed in the sense of many people thinking together in a more substantial way, or many people doing that, like crowdsourcing, etc. So, so as you use the pen and the paper, your brain actually distributes to the pen and paper. In a sense, the pen and paper are not really inanimate objects. In a sense, it's a weird way to think about it, but think of it, it might be true. So I was in Japan, and the one day I was shocked by something. So there were many security guards in the building. There was one particular security guard, uh, a guy at my age, and judging from looking at the person, I kind of had the feeling that this guy we could actually be friends. So it turned out this was very difficult because he didn't speak English very well. So it is hard for me to have a friendship with someone where it's not possible to communicate like verbally very well. So, but so at some point, it was a morning. I was shocked by the fact that I was leaving the building and passing through the security entrance. He bowed at me, and I felt extremely weird. He must have understood it. and I left completely crushed by this and kept wondering why did I feel so bad. So to me, for example, bowing, like bowing your head, uh, is like, so if I had done something immense and he had completely understood that and demonstrated that he had understood what I did and did that, it would lift me up to the sky. It would like it be an immense honor. So as a gesture of an important creation having been done, I would be willing to do that as well to someone. But I don't know. I don't think um, this happened. So I was completely crushed by this, and uh, honestly, I was like really started wondering like what Japan is and what to do there. So as time progressed and went by, so at some point I was outside and he was also outside and we were chatting. And so I tried to pursue in the under the principle that I thought we could be friends otherwise to see who this guy is. So at some point I asked him where he is from and he became very proud. I think he was, I don't remember, I think he was sitting, but anyway, I think so. He stood up and he got a completely different posture. I think he told me he's Nigata, and his posture reminded very much of my advisor at Princeton, his posture as well, in some occasions. And it was a very weird posture for me. But I was really engaged in this interaction we had. So I observed it extremely carefully, even subconsciously. Later, well, later, not, I don't remember, maybe 1 or 2 days later or the same day. So I tried to think about what he did. And because I was also familiar with my advisor, Princeton, who was Japanese, uh, so um, I managed to simulate it. And what I observed is that this is a way of thinking. So also the person who had the grant who was funding my position, so I had some familiarity by interactions with him. I want to say my manager, but I don't think this is correct. Um, so the person, so I was quite isolated in Japan, which was bad, but I had some interaction with people, so I had some data to work with. So basically, I think this is a way of thinking. So martial arts without weapons, etc., is a way of thinking for the Japanese people, and I think this way of thinking is completely different uh, from, for example, Greece or I don't know, Western Europe, etc., or America, etc. I don't care. So basically, this way of thinking is so the important point here is like when I think in interacting, and usually Greek people and European others, etc., do is like work with the hands. So they move the hands around, for example. So what I do is like I use my hands and also my fingers and voice. So uh, accentuate things and etc. So when I talk, I do not just it's not just voice, it's like hand gestures, mostly hand gestures and voice. So I noticed that the Japanese people do not have this range of voice, and their hands are very different from mine. So their hands are thinner. Anyway, it's interesting. So the interface I use for these types of things is completely different for the Japanese people. So, for example, I could imagine that a Japanese person working in math would actually try to kick in the air. I don't know if it happens. I haven't seen anyone do that because at work they are rather constrained. But I could imagine that. So that's why I was saying the other time in another entry, I don't remember which one. That, oh yes, I don't remember the date, but it was like what I was saying, that Japan should focus a lot of resources, in my humble opinion. And I say humble opinion because it is a humble opinion. I don't know what they should do, but it's my hunch. Uh, on understanding their cognitive schemas. So if you think with your body rather than your hands and your or interact and think with your voice, etc. So the cognitive schemas that will be expressed are different. So okay, so that's what I want to say today about this.